Are you the best player in the world at the moment?
Again. Yes.
There was a time when Eden Hazard could say this, and even Messi or Ronaldo fanboys or girls wouldn't have complained much. But just a few years later, his teammate Toni Kroos drew the line on Eden's sorry career end. I don't think Eden Hazard has a bad life. I only pity people who are in very bad situation, and Eden is not one of them. What happens to one of the most outstanding footballers of the 21st century? How come such a resilient body was unbreakable at one club and so fragile at another? Was he just lazy and didn't care? We try to answer these questions, but first, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. All that done, let's go. It may surprise some, but the accusation of laziness followed Eden Hazard for most of his career. Even at his Chelsea's best, he had issues training to the maximum. Jose Mourinho was initially not impressed with him. There was no vote, but he was known as one of the worst trainers, said Jose about his star player in 2014. The thing is, normally bad trainers do not play for Jose Mourinho altogether. Eden would have been no exception had he not been a special case, as Jose admitted later. When Eden gets onto the pitch, you don't see the reflection of a week of work, you just see a reflection of the talent God gave him. Eden's former teammate John Abi Mikel saw it in a very similar way, but put it in more bluntly. The only player I saw get away with it was Eden Hazard. He never trained, the laziest footballer I've ever seen in my life. But then come the weekend and he produces a man-of-the-match performance. To be fair to Hazard, Mourinho actually noted an improvement in his players' intensity over time. And if Eden didn't give 100% in training, he had an explanation for this. He wanted to protect his legs. At the time, he was one of the most tackled players in the Premier League. Not giving 100% in training worked. The Belgian only ever had one throwaway season at Stamford Bridge, the 2015-2016, when everything came apart for the Blues anyway. He failed to score or assist in 33 games of that campaign, although his rare goal gifted Leicester City the league title. In all the other seasons, he was spectacular. The player of the season in the Premier League only once, but you could have given him the award 2 or 3 more times and no one would have complained. In his final year at Chelsea, Hazard produced 21 goals and 17 assists, more than in all of his 4 years in Madrid combined. We can only imagine what could have been if he trained harder, but his Chelsea and Lille careers were still an overwhelming success. So what happened next when he left the Blues for Real Madrid? God only knows what happened. Trying to find a single explanation is unlikely to work because the fall from grace was too drastic. The starting point should be Eden's very first month at Real Madrid. For all the talk about joining the club of his dreams and kissing the badge, Eden Hazard seemed to have excessive weight. He will eventually admit to not counting his calories during the off-season. It didn't help he picked up an injury in the preseason and was sidelined for the start of his debut Madrid campaign. Once he got back though, it seemed like Real got the player they had paid huge money for. And then that PSG game happened. It wasn't a cynical fool by Belgian teammate Thomas Meunier, but Hazard let out a cry. Honestly, you see much worse tackles in many other games, but something snapped in Eden's body. He was only out for a few days, but it was the long-term effects of the tackle that mattered. For the next 3 years, Hazard couldn't catch a break with muscle injuries, ankle injuries, knocks, and even stuff like coronavirus and abdominal influenza. Lady Luck clearly didn't have Eden's phone number. It seemed like all the years of going unscathed from nasty, potentially bone-cracking challenges in the Premier League caught up with one of the most talented footballers of his generation. It's not implausible to suggest the same could have happened if he'd stayed at Chelsea. He'd been immune to injuries for too long to get away with them. When injuries keep happening, you lose the rhythm, and then you see an expensive Brazilian wonder kid starting in your position while you hit the hospital bed. Injuries happen, and maybe Eden Hazard could have been more professional in his approach, as Toni Kroos suggested, but it would be reductionist to just call Eden lazy and blame it on his habits. He was the same at Chelsea and Lille and was comfortably the best player there. A more plausible explanation is the snowball effect of several issues, which hugely damaged the player. Recurring injuries, increased competition, perhaps lack of application as well. Maybe his love for a meaty hamburger too, which even made him a face of the Mackie in Belgium. And maybe he also didn't feel the trust of coaches and teammates in Spain's capital. In London you could see him all smiles, cracking jokes even with his limited English. In Madrid he didn't even play in what was clearly his last game for the club. Carlo Ancelotti kept him on the bench in a dead rubber fixture. Perhaps there's a bit of bitterness and defiance in Eden's words after he left Real Madrid. I still feel capable of being a professional footballer, but at the same time, I've been resting for 2 or 3 years. I still have a bit of energy. It turned out he didn't have the energy and retired altogether, but don't let it be twisted. Eden's career arc was a huge success. His early retirement shouldn't be a sad day for football, but a celebration of one of the best footballers in the Premier League ever. If you enjoyed this video, like it so more people can watch it, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for notifications. See you in other videos!